Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account and we are going to be breaking down the Awakened Heroes. Now overall in live stream earlier today, got a ton of questions about who to build, when to build them. I want to kind of break it down because as we continue to get more heroes, as we continue to see additional game modes, there are a couple things, including using your cards, holding your cards, or not using your cards at all, which I want to get into with the time emblems. So looking at the breakdown, guys, number one Awakened hero, bar none, through every single thing that we've seen, through surveys, through everything, is the Awakened version of Belinda. She is still the strongest hero within AFK Arena. She is one that even if you're looking to build them out, if you're a light spender, if you're a whale, I'm building her out a little bit further. I'm adding a little bit more furniture on her, also taking the engraving a little bit higher, just because, of course, that is going to raise the scaling that we see with the heroes, especially these damage dealers. She is still the number one priority in AFK Arena. Building her far and above any other Awakened hero, she should be the primary hero. Now, with that being said, guys, if you have a hero that is built or half built at this point, let's say you have a hero at Mythic, you have a hero at Mythic Plus, at that point, guys, keep continuing to build that specific Awakened hero. Do not drop everything, run to build out Belinda. Finish the hero you're working on. Belinda is the priority. Now, once you get past Belinda, it gets a little dicey, guys. For an incredible amount of time, the next one everyone raced to build was actually Solus. Now, with that being said, guys, Solus is kind of coming a little bit down the tier list. We're still seeing her in a lot of different game modes, not so much utility used within the Treasure Scramble anymore. But one of the caveats with this hero, guys, is now within the Temporal Rift, we do have the ability to build the hero out of here through the exchange of the Temporal Rift. So this will actually be the second copy that you can get out of here. So at this point, in my opinion, guys, she would be the second hero to build, but not really a summoning priority. I would build her out of this game mode. I would get at least a copy of her again for utility wise. She still works incredibly well as a support hero, even not being fully built. And then picking up the additional copies out of here. Now, with that being said, guys, you also do have the option to pick up, of course, the time emblems out of here. You'll be able to get the copy of Solus. And then through the progression in this game mode, you'll also be able to get a lot of the time emblems out of here as well, which is what you're looking to build. Again, I wouldn't prioritize her really as the second one, but I would prioritize her as building her in the Temporal Rift if you do not have her built. That is going to be the place where you are going to build the Awakened version of Solus. So essentially, guys, the S plus tier would be that Awakened version of Belinda. And then getting into the S tier, again, I would look at building out Solus, but building her primarily out of the Temporal Rift. I know it is a 90-day cooldown, but ultimately you're going to build her eventually in there. And I'm thinking, again, big picture, that as we get a little bit further into AFK Arena, we're not going to see as much utility as we're seeing right now with Solus, because we're going to have a lot of additional heroes that are built. Now, with that being said, guys, looking at some of the other heroes that really fall into the S tier, the Awakened version of Athalia, super strong, guys. She is used in every single game mode. When you look at Treasure Scramble, the Twisted Realm, the Cursed Realm, Nightmare Corridor, we're seeing utility. Now, what is unique with her is the ability to go through the Celestial Tower. That is a huge, huge benefit, guys. Putting her and keeping her into that S tier. Not only does she have a very strong strength within the PvP aspect, but we are also seeing this hero utilized within a lot of other game modes with an incredible amount of utility in those game modes. And I have a little cheat sheet over here. I kind of broke it down because the next one that I would look at, guys, is the Awakened version of Baden. Now, he was, I believe, the very last Awakened hero of the first kind of series or section that we had built. We're still waiting to see who is going to come with the Wilders and with the Graveborns as a second Awakened hero. But Baden, very similar to the Awakened version of Athalia. Again, I would put him in that S tier for the simple fact that he does have a lot of utility in every single game mode. Similar, the Treasure Scramble, the Twisted Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, the Cursed Realm, we are still seeing Baden used. Graveborn Tower, of course, he is being used. Even in regular campaign formations, Baden is being used. Alna Baden is still super strong, guys, that we're still seeing a lot of utility. So again, I would drop Baden in that S tier at this point, followed by Matria. Now, Matria being in the S tier, kind of the caveat to this, guys, is she is very, very strong with a bunch of other hypo heroes. in the Treasure Scramble. However, when you look at her at other game modes, when you look at, again, the Cursed Realm, you look at the Nightmare Corridor, she has not run with a lot of other hypos or even run with hypos at all because her utility is still there, the damage is still there. But again, I would still place her in the S tier, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, guys, the same with the Awakened version of Sophia. There's not a game mode that we are not seeing this hero that is being placed in. She is being used everywhere that we're kind of seeing her as a support hero. I was on the fence when she was released very early. Again, she is a hero. It is relatively early, but she is finding a place in a ton of different places. And similar to the Awakened version of Athalia, we are seeing a ton of utility with her, of course, in the Mauler Tower, guys. For a majority of players, the Mauler Tower is by far the most difficult tower to deal with. So as we're seeing the rise of the Awakened version of Sophia and a lot of utility coming in a lot of different game modes, I would still drop her in the S tier. Now, as we get a little bit further, guys, as we look at the A tier, we are starting to see the drop or the fall of this Awakened version of Brutus. Unfortunately, we're not seeing him in a lot of game modes. We're seeing him actually dropping down the tier list, which makes him a little bit less of a priority if you don't already have him built. Now, I'm not saying that by far he doesn't have any utility. He doesn't have priorities. Mauler Tower, we're seeing a lot of utility. But again, when it's coming to the Nightmare Corridor, when it's coming to the Cursed Realm, we are not seeing Brutus run as much as and as prevalent as he used to be. Same with Honesta, we're not seeing a lot of drive in there with this hero. And the same is ringing true with the Awakened version of Thane, guys. I would drop him into the A tier as well. Just again, the PvP aspect, he does incredibly well. But outside of that game mode, not a lot of utility. And of course, like I've said with the Awakened heroes, you're going to find them in every single tower formation that they are built in because they are the strongest heroes. When you really tier them, guys, we have the Awakened tier right on the top. Then a little bit lower is going to be your Celestials and Hypogeans. And then, of course, the primary 4 factions out of there. So again, Brutus and Thane, I would probably put in the same tier now because as we continue to see new Awakened heroes released into AFK Arena, we are going to see the exact same, where these heroes are going to have a little bit less utility. And that goes the same, guys, for the original OG or the original Awakened hero, which of course was Taylene. I would actually drop her down to the B tier now that we have 10 Awakened heroes built within here, guys. She doesn't have a lot of utility. The only place that I'm seeing her right now is niche, possibly within the Treasure Scramble in a team. But overall, not a lot of utility outside of the Celestial Tower. Even when it comes to campaign or when it comes to the tower itself, not a lot of utility. And then, of course, the Awakened version of Aziz is the exact same, guys. We're still not seeing much utility out of him, even with the new game mode that is going on. Again, I had him built and I had him built for a long time. Didn't really use him. He actually was counterintuitive when it came to that Hypo Tower. So again, I would kind of drop him into the B tier list just because he's not a hero to build. And especially if you're looking at a new player, and I want to kind of take it from this perspective as well. When you look at heroes like the Awakened version of Brutus, when you look at Thane, when you look at Athalia, when you look at Aziz, these are heroes as a newer player you're probably not going to build ever. I don't see any reason, unless you're a whale just going in there building them out, that you would actually focus on, that you would actually build out any of the older Awakened heroes at this point. And again, I still find a lot of utility with Solus. We are still using her in a bunch of different game modes, best in slot right now with Dark Namora. Also seeing her, again, utility within the Nightmare Corridor and the Cursed Realm to have that built. Now, one of the things we also look at, guys, is who you can Murk. I covered this in the live stream earlier today. When you look at the Awakened heroes, when you look at your friends list, who do you have the ability to Murk and who are you going to build out? Which right here, guys, if I can get a fully maxed Awakened version of Belinda with all the engraving with a higher signature item, might be worth it to not build out that Awakened version of Belinda for the simple fact that I can borrow it, and if I can borrow it consistently, it is going to save me from building out that hero. Remember, the only game mode that you cannot use your mercenary heroes in is the Treasure Scramble. This does not have an option. You cannot use your Murked heroes within here. But when you look at the Twisted Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, and the Cursed Realm, you can go ahead and use all of the heroes that you borrow through the mercenary for those game modes, meaning it is not such a high priority to go ahead and build those. Now, in addition, guys, Rem and Amelia really making a big difference. Not an Awakened hero, guys, but you can see we did build her up a little bit higher just for the simple fact that we're going to see them in the garrison probably in a couple months. Now, this is another question I get. We're going to see them in the garrison probably in the next few months. Their utility is super high. I would say Rem is almost on par with the Awakened heroes with the damage that she's putting out in formations. All right, guys, so that'll do it for today's video. Just wanted to kind of clarify it a little bit with the Awakened heroes because I got so many questions over on the live stream today that I definitely wanted to cover it. And again, it's a question that I get a lot, guys, when it comes to who should I build, when should I build it, kind of tier listing it down, but paying special attention on the heroes that you can borrow within there. And the final thing we're going to take a look at is the card utilization, guys. Now, there's a couple ways to do this, a couple ways to kind of play this. Number one is stockpiling cards. So going in and stockpiling the time emblems. Now, this effectively can do two things for your account. Number one, if a brand new Awakened hero does come out, you have the ability to build them and you have the ability to build them fast and you have the ability to build them quick. However, if you are stockpiling the account, the second thing it can do is be super, super detrimental, guys, to the progression that you have within AFK Arena, because either you're going to be saving your 400 or 500 time emblems to make sure that you get the Ascended hero, or you're going to be working through and building the Awakened heroes based on the tier list, which again is kind of a personal preference of mine. On this account specifically, because I have a solid income, I actually get 2 time emblems every single day. I usually do not save up my time emblems because I know that we're getting them every single day. But like I was saying, guys, what I do in the general rule is building out one at a time, which I really focus on. If that means doing the exact same thing that I did with the Awakened version of Sophia, where we went through 2 summons every single day to build them, I could actually have the utility of utilizing that Awakened version of Sophia. Even though she is not fully built, I still have access to her and I still have utility, versus either one method, I save up 400 or 500 cards, which could take a couple months, build out the Awakened version of Sophia, or I slow build the Awakened version of Sophia over those couple months. That way, at the point of getting those 400 to 500 emblems, I already have Sophia done. And that is kind of the case that I build and the case that I go for, because even though the hero might not be fully built, you still have utility to use the hero. And I've used the Awakened version of Sophia, even being less than, having 1 star or being at the Awakened version. And it still worked incredibly well, which is the exact same case with the Awakened version of Belinda. Even having a lesser built version of her, I would go ahead and build. Now, with that being said, I would really stick to the A and the ST or the S plus and the S tier heroes that I would focus on building. So looking at Belinda, and again, looking at my list, looking at probably the Awakened version of Belinda, the Awakened version of Athelia, and then possibly looking at the Awakened version of Sophia would be the only ones that I would kind of slow build if you're looking to build. And I hope it does make sense, guys, because essentially, if I'm waiting, let's say right now I didn't have any copies of the Awakened version of Sophia, if I'm waiting to get those 400 to 500 time emblems, chances are it's going to take me an incredible amount of time before I get enough to actually build them, or I can just use the cards that I have as I get them, slow build the hero, and actually have the ability to utilize that hero prior to her being fully built. All right, guys. So again, I really do hope that makes sense, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.